Hey, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Oh,
Please accept
you
my
and me.
apology.
Jai. Prabhupada ki Jai. So who else is there?
I don't know.
I don't know. Well, I know it's only you and somebody who's called Laura Ben. We don't know who that is. Oh, Pitambara just joined. Hare Krishna. So, Nitai Chandra is coming also. Okay. Let's see whether we get everybody on board. Oh, Nitai, Haribol. Krishna. So how are we going to do this? There will be any translation, or maybe it's just I don't know. I'm asking the organizer.
Yes, the basis
Organizers.
Mahendra Pro, the basis, if he is here, the basis key to
Yeah,
translate.
but Mahendra Prabhu will not join, and it's better.
Will not.
Yeah, because he's busy now. He has another course to lead.
Yeah.
But we can skip the translation and go also only in English.
Yeah, that's okay. No,
we have to see how many participants have, but generally I think some of the devotees who don't know English, because the basis we have also Bulgarian translation.
But we don't have many participants. We're just the five, well, actually four of you and me. So
there is Mataji from Varna also. She organizing their nice programs, and she don't know English also.
But okay, so how are we going to do this? Just tell me. Like in the class, I speak and then you will translate?
Yes, so some of us has to translate. I or Stanu Pro or Pitambar Pro, doesn't matter.
Well, I guess you are the translator generally, no? When we have class, so
yes, you're
what to do? Okay, so let me see. Who selected the topic of today, which is loving relationships between devotees?
I propose the topic.
Okay. So then, of course, a simple question is why? What was on your mind? What do we want to accomplish by speaking about this?
Pitambar Pro, he told me that the goal of this meeting is to have a nice harmonious relationships between the leaders, and this way the team in Bulgaria Yatra to going up. And I was just mentioning, because he told me this, and I'm mentioning that if there are nice loving relationships between devotees, the management follow as a shadow. And
yes.
And therefore I propose to him this to be the topic.
Okay. Well, we have, of course, Upadeshamrita, which speaks about loving exchanges, or it's called Priti Lakshanam, the symptoms of love. We can read that to begin with, but of course I think it's maybe not. Well, let's see. Everybody knows the verse, I think. Tadati pratigrinati guyamakyati prichati bhunkte bojayate chaiva shadvidam priti lakshanam. And so there are 6 symptoms of love. Dadati, to offer something in charity or make a gift, and obviously somebody will receive it, so one accepts the gift. Also, there is offering prasadam and accepting prasadam, and what is called guyam akyati pritchati, a confidential inquiry. Now, if we look at Prabhupada's purport, because that's why I'm saying we have to see how far this will help us, to accept a gift or to give a gift and to take prasadam and offer prasadam. Okay, that's a symptom of loving exchange, but I don't think that's what we want to talk about. That's something very simple. About what means to reveal one's mind in confidence and to receive answer. When Prabhupada speaks about this in the purport, he says that, a devotee will ask questions to an advanced devotee and receive answers. Basically, that's, So now the question is.
1 second.
Hmm?
Should I translate or?
Well, I don't know. We are only the ones we are here. What does the lady say? Because I think everybody else understands English good enough. No? Stanu understands Pitambara.
Yes.
Mrs. Laura, you understand so far?
Кажіть йому, чи дутук розбрах, но после не знаю.
Oh, very good, Maharaj. She understood this what you have said till now.
Okay. So I think, now I'm just giving out what I think. Or my question, what we hear here about these loving exchanges, is that enough for us to answer, or as an explanation when we speak about loving relationships between devotees, or are you thinking of other things? I'm just questioning. Because this is very general, a very general description, and it may not give the answer that we are looking for. That's what I think. We are more complicated. We are not so simple as.
At least it's a good start and something that we need to think about it.
Yeah, so what do you think? I mean, what more can we say about offering a gift, accepting a gift, offering prasadam, accepting prasadam? Let's put aside for a moment revealing one's mind in confidence and inquiring confidentially. But just these other, which is already 4 out of 6. So what, somebody wants to comment? Is there anything more we can say?
Yes, I have a question regarding the receiving gift. I think in the purport, and also when we was studying Bhakti Shastris, it's like a charitable gift, which is without motivation.
Okay.
Which making the gift, he making unmotivated.
Okay.
But my question is, should we accept gifts which are not unmotivated also?
Give me an example.
To say that somebody coming and offer something to the temple, donation or whatever, but he making this, but accepting just like to have some profits, like giving classes or have a good reputation or maybe some followers or whatever.
I mean, that person says that I'm giving this gift because I want to give a class.
No, he
I
don't.
don't think.
He
I
don't.
don't think so.
No, he don't say, but we
You
know
are
very well.
suspecting. You are suspecting.
Yeah.
I know you. You are giving this gift because you want to give class next.
Yeah.
I mean, that's surprising. Here, I never ever have the experience that somebody gave a gift in order to give a class. Maybe that's
Only.
unique for Bulgaria, but in Spain it has never happened. But I can understand the other motives that somebody, like for reputation, obviously, but even that is very subtle. You know, somebody maybe wants to be known that I gave this much money to the temple or to a project or whatever. So is the question whether we should accept if we know this, or should we reject it and say, well, it's motivated, so keep your money. I don't want your million, your $1 million for the temple because you're motivated. Like here, we want to build a Vedic temple since over 30 years. It had always been a plan, but it never happened because there's no money. So if tomorrow somebody comes and says, I'm offering, €1 million or 2 million to construct this temple, but I want to have a plaque, a sign on the temple wall that this temple was constructed with the money from such and such. So according to what I understand from you, the question is, should we accept or should we say no? So what would you do? Somebody comes, we want to construct a temple also in Vrajaloka. So he comes with, 10 million levas. It's a lot of money. You can make a very nice, the picture you showed me, you can make like, the original Bulgarian church, nice temple. Would you say, what is your motivation? Let me first understand. Yes, I want to have a plaque on the temple wall that I gave this money to construct. So then what will you do? You will say, sorry, we can't accept that.
Yes. Okay, I can go a little further. This is generally for Krishna. For Krishna, we can take everything and offer to the temple. But also sometimes we see personal gifts sometimes happening as
Yeah?
donation or some gift also. And if it's for Krishna, we know that we have to
Yeah.
accept. But if it's a personal, just like they also personal donation or something else, do we involve in some reactions?
Yes,
Yes.
this is a good question, and it's described, of course. But I mean, the description is that yes, one should actually not accept a donation from a materialistic person because you will maybe share in the karmic reaction. One becomes contaminated, actually. I think it's somewhere in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Now, from experience, I don't think I've seen ever a devotee rejecting a gift because of that. Maybe we are just all stupid, But it's difficult to also judge, right? Somebody wants to give you a gift. Now you can suspect that, wow, what is your motive? Or you are a meat eater, or I don't think it's very easy to do that. Like I have another experience in Malaga. We had one of those Indian people living in Gibraltar who was very favorable, but he had a duty-free shop. It's practically everything he sold is alcohol and cigarettes. That's all what he sold. and he gave a donation, a wooden house for the temple. We accepted it. I mean, we knew what his business was, but we didn't reject that. So it may be, yes, we got some reaction. I don't know. But from my experience, I haven't seen that devotees rejected anybody's gift knowing that their business was like, a little bit not completely sattvic, was even against the principles. So I don't know, but it's there. It's said, one has to be careful. I would also say it depends on your capacity and the motivation. If you accept it and you use it for Krishna, you may be okay. If you use it for yourself, I don't know how much in trouble you may get. I don't know. What does everybody else think?
Maharaj,
Yes.
I think it is the same like when I am distributing books and people give donations to me. I use them, part of them for temple or some other Krishna conscious things, but I also buy bogle and maintain myself. And I think by such a way, we're free from reaction. What is your opinion?
But that's different because you're giving a book. Huh? You
Yes.
can, in one sense, you can say they're paying for the book.
Yes.
It's not that a donation means you don't give anything. They just give you something. I mean, like, I said, the Indian person, or many people who come to the temple, they just give a donation. They may get a little prasadam, that's okay. But, it's if somebody gives, like the house was, I think, maybe 15, 20,000 euros worth, and he gave it. I mean, there was another motivation. He wanted to have the name of his daughter on top of the entrance. It was like it was in the name, in the memory. Maybe the daughter has died. I don't know. They do this, the Indian people, in the memory of the mother or the daughter. This is given, and like that. So we accepted it, but it's not like if you sell a book, yes, it's in one sense it's selling. And we say we give it distribution. We distribute, but we get something in return, obviously. But it don't. Books just giving out for free because people will not appreciate. If they give something, they pay for it. Then normally they keep it. So I would say that's definitely not the same thing.
Yes.
And generally, I mean, many times they give something, but it may be just the cost price, maybe a little more, right? We try to get normally twice as much as it was costing, so there's some profit at least. But that's how sales are. When we buy something in a store, it's not normally not cost price. There must be some profit, otherwise, how can you exist? That's normal. But it's not a donation in one sense. We say, because we cannot sell officially, maybe, that's a legal thing. We say we're accepting a donation, but actually it's a price they pay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Now we spent 20 minutes on that. This is the first one, the gift, accepting gifts and giving gifts. Again, loving relationships between devotees. I think maybe the idea was a little different, right, Itai?
Yes, this is important. This is the topic generally. According to the scripture, we have to because there was one example. There was a devotee which told me that to have loving relationship with the devotees, we have to play football. And he told this help a lot. He told me, and I was asking him, where have you read this in Prabhupada's book? After we agree that this is not bona fide.
Well, let's see. But for example, Pitambara has 2 boys. If he plays football with them, is that Maya? Pitambara, do you play football with your sons?
Not very often, Maharaj.
But sometimes.
Yes.
I used to play, for sure. I like football. I used to play football. But that's, I mean, these are children. So children play. And if we participate, I don't think that's against any principle. But of course, then when you are adults, I think playing football is questionable. Even going to the gym, I would say, is questionable. People say to, maintain your health. You go to the gym, but you can maintain your health just by dancing in kirtan. You don't need to go to a gym, right? Or you can take a walk. Walking is very good, chanting japa. So anyway, yeah, these activities which actually like football playing with somebody else, there's especially with boys, I mean, if your sons, there's some kind of exchange, of some kind of, yeah, because you're playing with them. I mean, they're in the age of playing. So that's, I mean, even Prabhupada said in the Gurukul, for small children, they have to have some time to play. And if the teachers play with them, I think that's okay. That's no problem. But of course, I don't think we are talking about that here, right? I mean, how to maintain, relationships. It's a little sentimental. Sometimes devotees, yeah, they think, by reciprocating in a superficial way, that's having a loving relationship. But of course, from our point of view, I mean, there's different types of relationships. As we know, there are 5 types. What we have in the spiritual world is here it is reflected in the material world. So if we have relationships, let's talk about normally the 4. There's the servant, master, friends, parents, and lovers. So we don't talk about Shanta Rasa, we have 4. So this is in this world, and amongst devotees also. We have the, servant master relationship, which is like, one can say, guru disciple. Then friends, of course, which are equals, they have a friendship. And then superiors or parental type of relationship. And then the intimate relationship between husband and wife. So that's there. So amongst devotees, how does that manifest? I mean, it's these 4 are always there. So how do they manifest in a way that they are not sentimental in the sense of being illusory? We say, "Oh, you're in Maya." So that only can. These relationships we should consider as favorable if Krishna is in the center. As soon as Krishna is removed, then any of these relationships becomes mundane, and then it's not very recommended, of course. But now the other opposite, or the extreme, and we have seen this, maybe not so much, but maybe probably also in Bulgaria, especially in the beginning of the movement, because we are not the body, and so therefore any loving exchange, we're talking about loving relationships. For example, parents with their children was frowned. You understand the word frowned upon. It was, people thought we shouldn't do this. This is actually Maya. Even a mother, hugging a small child, son or daughter, there was opinions, it happened, that don't do this, this is, it's Maya. You should become detached. You understand? So this, I'm not sure whether this is actually, don't do this, I think, this is not healthy. So, especially in a family situation, it's natural, that parents have and show affection to their children. Again, especially when they're small. Later, naturally, when they grow up, then of course it's still there, but it's not like, so much physically that you embrace them and you give them a kiss or something like that. So, and then when it's between equals, again, it's not an easy thing, because in the material world, if you have a friendship, you do this normally between people who share some common interest, right? If you are like, we had football, if you like football, you may join a football club because there are others who also like to play football, and you make friends with them. If there's somebody who has completely different interests from you, I doubt that one will establish a friendship with such a person, right? But in when we have Krishna consciousness, when you have devotees, they're supposedly, we are all have the same interest, right? We want to become Krishna conscious. There's the acharya or the guru. One may have a god brother, god sister, and therefore the relationship, there should be no problem at all. But because we are not so advanced, although supposedly Krishna should be in the center, if he's not, then even though one may have another devotee living with you, the relationship doesn't work, because we're not very much compatible, right? And Krishna is not in the center. Then automatically there's no loving relationship. You understand? I think you understand. So what to do? Or any experience you have and you want to share? Oh, there's Loka Guru joining us, connecting the audio. Just in time to tell us what about the relationship with his brother. Anyway, please speak. Mike, I have I asked the question. What do you think? You may not agree with what I said. So let's explore it.
So maybe our goal should be to try to understand better Krishna consciousness and to have a better relationship with Krishna. So when he's in the center, automatically all these problems will disappear.
Yeah, but that's not so easy. That's my point. We know this theoretically, but then in practice, even in a temple, let's say, I've been living, in so many different situations with so many different people. Some of you are staying in the same place all the time, and you're seeing the same faces day after day, right? And maybe sometimes some visitor comes. But I'm looking back on more than 50 years of living with devotees. And sometimes we have situations where they really don't like each other at all. They're practically hating each other, although they're both devotees. So you may say, well, of course, the solution is it's a lack of Krishna consciousness. You become Krishna conscious, and then automatically these problems will be solved. And it's true. But because we're not, it's not so easy to do that, the problem will continue. And it may continue year after year, and people suffer actually from that. So what to do? Silence. What happened? Actually, I mean, I can tell you from Prabhupada's experience, I've seen this, we have seen this in the very early days. Some of the leaders, no names necessary, the so-called big devotees, very well known, and they had their different zones, their different temples, and some of them really didn't like each other at all. So when for some reason they had to do something together, it became a big problem. So, I mean, generally what Prabhupada did, if that happened, especially when people were in the same place for some circumstances, and they were expected to work together, and it didn't work, it didn't happen, then, he sent somebody to some place and he sent the other person to another place. So they wouldn't have to get together because, conditioned. You can tell them you have to work together, but they can't. Then better is to separate, which sounds practical, But sometimes you can't do that. Let's for example, I mean, especially if it's like a brother. Well, even brothers, they may just go one way, go to one place and another go to another place. What about when it happens to husband and wife? Then you have a big problem, of course. So, but even then, nowadays, it means, and Prabhupada didn't expect that. He was very disappointed. Then they'd separate. Also, separation then is the, practically, apparently the only solution. Instead of killing each other, they just should separate and, be peaceful separately. Not, fighting every day. It's like, why? Why would we do that? Yeah, that's, I mean, the whole problem is the lack of Krishna consciousness, obviously. And sometimes, or even many times, it's a lack of communication, right? I mean, relationships, if we talk about, first of all, we have here the theme, loving relationships between devotees. Well, let's take out the loving, just relationships. Because, I mean, we have to, or we want to live together, or we live together to achieve a certain goal. Like, for example, I think, well, at least Nitai Chandra and also Loka Guru have experience with having relationships with people who work for you. It doesn't, it's not really necessarily, probably never, a loving relationship, right? No. But there's a relationship because there's some common interest. I mean, you have something you want to accomplish. Another person says, I can help with that. But you have to pay me. And you say, okay, I pay you that much. And you have to help this much. And the person will say, well, this is actually not enough. You have to pay me a little more. Then I can do that work. So it's a relationship, and you come to some agreement by communication, right? I mean, it's not by force. That could happen, but it doesn't happen anymore, at least not in our situation. This only happens with slaves. They will be forced, and if they don't work, they will be killed. So that's also a relationship, but it's definitely not a loving relationship. But even a working relationship is not necessarily loving. So, I mean, if we talk about loving relationships, it's not an easy thing to accomplish because, especially if Krishna consciousness is not very much advanced. And I think we have to face that reality, that many times we may say, oh, you just have to have Krishna in the center and then everything will work out, which is true. But because it's not so easy to do that, Therefore, we may have to think about other, we have to take other things into consideration. What do you think, Pitambara? Because you said, well, we have to become Krishna conscious, which is a fact. But if we're not, then what do we do?
I don't have answer to that question. Maybe to try to communicate better and to try
Yes.
to resolve all the issues, as you mentioned, Maharaj.
Yes, I think communication, okay, Krishna is the goal, and we want to think of Krishna and have his interest as our main interest. And the example is given that the stone you throw, then these circles go around the stone, and you throw another stone in the same place, then more circles, but they never intersect. Now, if you have one stone here, one stone there, then the circles, they will at one point clash. That's the example given, Krishna in the center. There may be so many different people, but if this interest is the same, then there is no problem. But as I say, from our experience, and everybody has the experience, that very rarely happens. Most of the time, it's not like this. So then we have to communicate and come to some agreement on our, let's say, conditioned, situation. We have some conditions. We are not pure. We are not completely detached. We are not without any self-interest. Everybody has their interest. That's another thing. How do conflicts come about? Because everybody has their interest. And it's not Krishna's interest necessarily, maybe partly, but there's a big part which is my interest, and you have another interest, and then immediately you have a conflict. So then we have to come some agreement. Now we have conflict, Russia, Ukraine. Everybody knows. So how can it be resolved? Well, people make proposals. You have to sit down and talk. But then they say no need to talk, because we are very clear what we want. And the others say, we are very clear what we want. And there's no possible to come to a conclusion. If Ukraine says you have to give up Crimea and the Donbas because it's our land, and the others say no, this always has been Russian land in the past, now we're renewing it, and they will insist on their position, how can you come to an agreement? It's not possible. Right? So that happens when there's personal interest, separate interest. I get the sun here. So again, what do you think? Fortunately, I don't think we have that situation amongst devotees. We don't have whole, territories that we think this is mine. This I and mine, that's actually the main problem. So the more we become free from that, then, relationships should be much easier. As long as these personal interests are very strong, then, basically it's impossible unless you come to a compromise, right? And then, as they say, you meet halfway. Okay, I can't get everything I want. You can't get everything you want. So half, and then we come to some peace agreement, and, that's it. Possible. And should be possible, amongst devotees generally. If we insist that it has to be my way, then this will become very difficult for many people. Because also I have my way, you have your way. It's not Krishna's way. We already agreed upon that. So then, what are you going to do? Then it's the law of the more powerful, who has more power, who is stronger. The might makes right, they say in English. If you're strong, then you impose yourself, and the other person has to submit. What to do? Oh, somebody is leaving because she cannot understand. Or you may want to translate, I don't know. We have 20 minutes left. So, I mean, I've talked so much, I'm exhausted. Please say something intelligent.
Maharaj, can I ask something?
Yes, please.
It's regarding the Prabhupada's statement, love me, love my dog. We know that to love Krishna, we have to love the devotees. Or,
Yeah,
at least,
yeah.
or at least the spiritual master. In Prabhupada's case, we see his love to everyone. But in our case, we know also that the Kanishta Adhikari, he have respect to his spiritual master, but not to other devotees. Isn't it that if we want to develop our relationships with Krishna, we have to have not only communication, but also loving relationships with the devotees also?
Yes. At least, I mean, love is a big word, huh? Let's say at least respect. You know, which is another form. I mean, that's like let's say civilized behavior, even in the material world. You know, when people meet for whatever reason, and or you go to a place, even you go to the dentist, or you go to some place where you buy something. I mean, there's a way you behave in connection with the other person, right? It's you don't just come in and you know, no, you are very polite, you respect the other person, etc., etc. So that's like has nothing to do with love in a sense. It's like, how you say, like a gentleman type of behavior, civilized behavior, which is expected from any person who is educated. Um, yeah. So what to speak if it's devotees? That should be understood. You know, that we should treat each other at least with respect. That's the minimum. Then if it becomes a loving relationship, that's that's a higher, you know, higher step. Um, and I think you cannot expect it in a lower stage, you know, like the Suridam Sarvabhutanam, right? That's another qualification of the sadhu, that he is the friend of everyone. I mean, you know, Suridam, Surit. It's an important word. It's a type of friend. There are different types of friends. There's Mitra, there's Bandhu, and there's Surit. So Surit, where does it come from? It's a compound, Sanskrit. Su means good, and Rit means heart. Somebody who has a good heart in relationship to others. So, and the sadhu, according to Kapila, is Suridam Sarvadehinam. No, Krishna is Suridam Sarvabhutanam. It's the same thing, Dehinam, Bhutanam, living, other living entities. So the sadhu his relation to others, his good heart, is not only to human beings, it's to every living entity he treats like that. So, and amongst human beings, what to speak if there are other devotees? So there should be a, you know, you can say a good disposition, a position of a disposition, an attitude to want the good for the other person. That's what surit means. You know, somebody like Prabhupada used that word in his correspondence, well-wisher, right? You ever well-wisher. So well-wisher is surit, who wishes your good, who wishes you well. It's a very simple thing. So that should be the normal attitude from one devotee to another. Become, to become one's well-wisher. Not, how can I cut you down? How can I? Yeah, I mean, that's a mundane, you are my enemy. So how can I destroy you? Or I want to become the temple president. You are the president. So, I mean, I've seen this. I'm not talking about now, but in the past, it happens many times because we were all very young, very ambitious, very stupid. So one was the temple president. And there were several who were maybe equally qualified, who were just thinking, how can I get that post? So, and then there may be politics that happened. There were then politics in the temple. Each one has his party. The people who are supporting. We had one incident in the early 70s in Bhaktivedanta Manor. No names necessary. You can find out if you're very clever in Prabhupada's correspondence. So one person was the temple president, and the other wanted to be. He thought, I'm much more qualified. He's not qualified. He's doing this, he makes this mistake, this mistake, this mistake. So then it came to Prabhupada. So Prabhupada, what can he do? He said, okay, you then have an election in the temple. Democracy. Because there may be 100 devotees in the temple, so let them all vote who should be the president. So what to do, since Kali Yuga. But generally that should not be, that we think of each other in such a way. If everybody is everybody else's well-wisher, then problems practically don't exist or can go easily. But if we are very much conditioned, then we are well-wisher maybe to somebody, but not to somebody else. So we make these distinctions, friends and enemies. And that's Maya, as Prahlad points out. This is a bodily concept of life. So, what to do? Any opinions, please?
Hare Krishna,
Guru, what do you
Maharaj.
think? Yes,
Thank you for
nice
sharing
to hear your voice at least. I see your picture, but you are there. It's good to know
No,
you are there.
I can put some camera. Just a
Yeah, we
second.
want to see you. With it.
Hare
Here you
Krishna.
are. You are real.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you
how
for
are you
sharing
doing?
your realizations.
Well, it's experience, practical experience. I already had forgotten it so long ago. It's like 50 years ago, but I remember that, it was a very
Yeah,
famous
but
case.
Bulgaria is developing 50 years ago, so we're on the same page.
So don't be surprised if something like that happens. But you don't have a big place like Bhaktivedanta Manor,
Yeah, absolutely.
There are lots of devotees, and then easily parties form.
Yeah.
15 with this person, 20 with that person. It's like, in the politics, who has bigger supporters, and then, he go to the GBC that they're making so many mistakes. I volunteer to get the temple out of the problems. Something like that.
I was thinking that in general we should first indicate our position, as Nitya Chandra Prabhu said, Kanishta Adhikari, and because often we speak about to be Krishna conscious, but as Prabhupada said, first we should be conscious and then Krishna conscious. And in this term, if everybody of us start to be much more self-analytical and thinks in terms of humility and compassion, how the person in front of us, either devotee or not devotee, will feel because of